It is time for a pen off between a titanium bolt action pen and a zirconium bolt action pen. This video is brought to you by The Jump. Now, I'm not really interested in art-related competitions, but I think it is interesting to look at both of these pens together, next to each other, alongside of each other. So they both have this feature right here, which is there's a knob, and then it can slide down and around, and that's the bolt action, right? And the tip comes out. And then there's usually a spring, you can push it, right? And it slides back up in a very satisfying way. And it's great to just sit here and go like this all day, right? I think when I first got this, I worked up like a little callus on my thumb. I had some cramping going on here and a little bit of RSI farther up my arm, but it was all in good fun. Now, I do want to mention that I've partnered with The Jump to host a community around art and illustration and creativity called Pen Pals. I mentioned it before, and since then, over 300 of you have joined and posted and interacted over 2,000 times last time I checked. All right, it's been pretty cool to see what's been posted already, and I'm excited about the future because this isn't a place where we're dragging each other down or being overly critical of each other's work, but we're excited and supportive of each other. Maybe we're posting what we're working on or something we've done in the past, discussing various art supplies, what's the best pen, what's the best paper. And it doesn't just have to be pens and paper. It can be paints and digital media, stuff like that. Whatever you want to. It's a creative place, okay? There's no ads, no algorithm. It's just you and each other and the art that brings us together. And I think art really does have that power. So go check it out. There's a link in the description. I'll post the drawing that I do here today on there as well. So see you there. I have had this for about a month, just sitting on my desk, been using it to write notes, and that's important to note because I've done a little bit of modding myself. That is, I took out the cartridge that came in it and replaced it, with a felt tip here. This is what I bought here. Lanier pens. The important part is I think they're just the distributor. It's this, the Schmidt Fineliner 604M, made in Germany. Right? You can see it's a little felt tip there. What I was afraid of, well, first of all, with a lot of these bolt action pens, what I've noticed is that they, of course, I don't know if I have seen very many or any bolt action fountain pens, right? Or technical pens. They're mostly ballpoint pens, and I'm not super into ballpoint pens, so I wanted some other options. And someone messaged me about these, like, hey, there are other options. So I had to check it out. I put it in there, and what I was afraid of is if I put this felt tip in here, most of my felt tip pens I've ever had in my whole life have had like airtight caps on them, right? So I wanted to find out is if I put this in here, and I guess if you retract it, ka-chunk, it's a little bit protected from the air, but it's not airtight, and you can push it out. And so I just kind of had it on my desk, used it for a while, and as you can see, it still works. It works well, it works fine, and it's very satisfying. It's a good solid felt tip. And I do like the design of this one. I was bashing a little bit the design of their fountain pen, but all the things I didn't like about the fountain pen aren't really a problem here with the bolt action. That is, I like this straighter design, and there's none of this metal on metal action, right? With the weird little ribs and bumps making noises. If they made a fountain pen in this straighter form factor, I would love that. Anyways, a few more details. I like that you can see that it says Tactile Turn 2020 under the clip there. don't know if you can tell. I do like the ribs on this one. It helps as you're writing. It's a little, I mean, it's slippery sideways. Also, a very cool feature about this one is just how slick it is. It's not at first apparent where the cap or the tip unscrews. You just kind of have to start twisting. And then the seam kind of comes out of nowhere. There's a nice little O-ring in there. Spring. There's the cartridge. So if you're into ballpoint pens, I guess you could just take it as is, but I wanted to experiment around a little bit with putting the Schmidt one in there. Goes back on very easily, but of course with this with the felt tip, I keep marking on myself every time. There are a lot of marks on my hand just from playing with the pen, which doesn't happen quite as much with ballpoints anyways, but I don't mind having marks on my hands. Anyways, very fun to play with. Very satisfying actuation there. This is probably going to mess up my audio levels from having this clicking, clacking sound, but as long as you're not around other people, you could probably be the most despised person in your class if people ever go to school again. If you take one of these and just start click-clacking away, right? Go for it. So there is one option. A very cool pen. I like it a lot. All right, so that was titanium pen from Tactile Turn, their bolt action. Next, we're going to look at a zirconium pen here by Fellhoelter. I think that's how you say it. Another company that it seems has started out with making knives and then realized, hey, we have all the tools for machining and stuff. Maybe we should make some pens too. I'm not exactly sure that's what they were thinking, but that's what I imagine they were. And this is another pen I'm borrowing, and this comes from Fellhoelter by way of Nils Coring. I will put that in the YouTube description because there has also been a little bit of modding going on here. First of all, this is normally a pen I think that they would offer in titanium, but then they offered it in zirconium. And then this guy Nils Coring on Instagram does modifications of this particular brand of pen or style of pen. Like he does, if you look at his Instagram page, he does a bunch of mods, making pens look all sorts of crazy weird ways, but it's only these Fellhoelter TI bolts. In fact, I asked him if he would modify a different pen for me. He's like, nope, only TI bolts. I mean, it's fair enough. No hard feelings. I was just wondering, you know. The stuff he does is really cool because check it out. What he did here, I think the main thing he did was if you push this bolt down into the side, you can see the action is a little bit different than on the Tactile Turn, just a different shape. I don't think these lines would normally be here. And right now you can't really see anything because it's actually very bright in here. I have like 3 bright lights on. But if I turn some of these lights off, and then we take another look at the pen. Okay, now let's open the bolt action in the relative dark. Check that out. It's glowing on the inside. Now that's cool. This is what they call an alien mod. That's tritium in there. It's like I don't know, I guess it's radioactive in a sense that it glows all the time, but it's not harmful. Some of you may have heard of tritium before. Look at that, very cool. It glows by itself, of course. It does help if it's not too bright, as you saw. It's not like an overpowering glow, but it doesn't require any outside light to recharge it. It just glows through its own power. You don't have to like charge it up with light. Another cool thing I noticed is even if you have all the bright lights on, if you take a black light flashlight and shine it on there, it glows very bright. Stuff is very reactive to black light. Check that out. So a little light application of black light. UV rays does make it nice and glowy. And this one, of course, this is not my pen, so I'm not going to modify it or change the cartridge in there or anything. It has a nice O-ring as well. Spring. This one's got a Parker gel cartridge. Nice. These are all exchangeable. These are pretty universal. You can always find the right size and switch it out with something you prefer more, in my experience. Here, the action is also very satisfying. Right? Could sit around and do that for ages. From what I understand, this part, the tip, the body, and the cap are zirconium, and the rest of it is still titanium. Of course, I'm not sure what's still titanium and what's what after the modding done by Nils Koring, but it's a pretty slick looking pen. It's a little heavier, I think, than it would be if it was full titanium, but I did notice that someone went to the trouble of making a kind of a grid of all the different elements in our universe that we know about so far. They like a table of them, of all the elements. And if we take a look at this, you'll notice that both titanium and zirconium are on the same column. Titanium right above, zirconium right below, and maybe that's why zirconium is a little heavier. You might notice that right below that is hafnium. So maybe next I need a hafnium pen. Then right below that is rutherfordium or something like that, which I think is full-on radioactive, has a half-life of like 1.5 hours. So does that mean if I got the pen, I would have 1.5 hours to draw before half the pen was gone, just dissolved out of my hand? Probably maybe I would be sick or dead from radiation poisoning or something. I don't know how that works. Regardless, it is interesting that hafnium is called hafnium even though it has no half-life. But I think it's based on the Latin name for Copenhagen, where it was discovered, and it actually is the last stable element ever discovered. Give me the hafnium pen. I think it is very closely related to zirconium. Anyways, we have these two pens. I think I'm going to do most of my drawing with this bolt action tactile turn pen today, since this is the one that's actually mine. And I don't want to mess around with this one too much. It's I mean, I'm not all about prices and stuff, but this one is pretty expensive. First of all, just from Fellhoelter, and then paying to get it modded. I like the fluting down the sides here. The lines on the grip here are echoed, and the lines going around the little bolt. All right. But let's go ahead with this one, which is also very sleek and has its own fair share of lines, doesn't it? Right. Onward. There is something interesting going on here in the sense that, the trend, me looking at these expensive EDC pens, right? They're far more expensive than most of the pens I usually use, but they're in their performance. There's nothing special, right? Most of them are ballpoint. I mean, you can get nice refills for the Monteverde, Parker, Schmidt. These are all decent brands, but they function. They put down lines on the paper, but I just would not go out of my way for them as far as how they perform, how they put down the lines on the paper. And that's usually what I want in a pen. That's why I like pens most of the time. Like my Rotring isographs, I love those because of the way they draw lines, but the way they put the ink onto the paper is just so delicious. The pens themselves, how they physically look, they're not that nice. The bodies are cheap plastic. Sometimes the older ones are like hardened rubber, and they dry up and they crack. And I mean, even the way sometimes keeping them running is a nightmare, but the way they draw lines is a dream. And so because of that, they're my favorite pen, right? And then these titanium pens, these zirconium pens are like the opposite end of the spectrum. The way they draw lines is just, barely satisfactory. And then the bodies of the pen are a dream. So I guess I'm attracted to both things. I guess one day maybe I'll find a pen that appeals to me in both ways. Maybe that's why I like the Muji pen. It does appeal to me on both ends. It lays down ink really well, and I also like how it looks and how it feels and physically, you know. Also, sad news, a few people have sent me links about how Muji USA has filed for bankruptcy, mostly due to not being able to keep up with everything during all this COVID stuff. Hey, I feel like I did what I could. I did my part to try to keep them afloat. I went there. I went to at least one USA Muji store. I bought a lot of stuff there. I mean, I didn't buy any of their really expensive stuff. Like, they sell a lot of well, I mean, I'll say it, overpriced stuff, maybe. I mean, that's a matter of opinion, but speaking of opinion, I bought like 15 pens while I was there, and stationery and random other little things. I have bought some clothes from them, but I think the clothes I bought were from their Japanese entity, so that maybe didn't help them over here. Anyways, Muji's not gone entirely. I don't know what the future holds for them. Anyways, I still have some Muji pens. The world isn't ending yet. Anyways, I do like this Tactile Turn bolt action pen, titanium. It has a good mix of kind of military straightforwardness, clinical cleanliness, and a bit of like 70s retro sci-fi curvature, particularly in the nose of the pen, all kind of tied together in one little pentacular body. Also, I will make a little confession to you in a note of vernaling. I used to have a big problem with... Wait, let me take a sip of my tea before I go on. I'm drinking a little bit of tea right now. I will say, look, I made an announcement a while ago that I was not drinking coffee. That I was stopping drinking coffee. That was several months ago, and I haven't had coffee since then. And in one video, I did have some tea. And since then, I've had tea like 3 times. I do have tea every now and then, like when I have a headache, because I do think caffeine helps. There's like caffeine in tea, right? And I mostly take it for medicinal reasons when I have headaches, and I've taken some Excedrin, and the Excedrin doesn't help, and so on and so forth. Also, I found the stuff that really helps with my headaches. I'm kind of at the point with my headaches where I don't want to say I'll try anything, but I'll try things that I wouldn't normally have tried, because I've tried almost everything else, right? I've tried almost every pill over the counter. I've been to neurologists and sleep specialists and all this sort of stuff. And I've found some things that help and some things that don't, but the headaches haven't completely gone away. One thing I found recently that really did help was this stuff called Tiger Balm. And I think it might be Vietnamese or something. And I don't usually go for this sort of like, well, balms, right? But I take it. I got it's the white variety of this balm. You get like a little jar of it. It looks very cool. And it's pretty much like a super powered mix of Icy Hot and Vicks Vapor Rub. And you take it. This stuff is, I think they have an original version, and then this version is made for headache relief. I think you take it, and I apply a little bit to my temples, a little bit to the back of my neck. I think it also works well around the ears, but I don't put it around my ears because that's why I wear my headphones. And it really helps. Like it feels like it's like that cool burning you get from Icy Hot, and you can also put some of it around your nostrils, I think, and it helps too. I don't always do that, but it's like it creates like this cool burning sensation. It feels like the headache pain is leaving your head through these spots where you applied the balm. It's a very weird, relieving sensation. Anyways, just thought I'd pass that on. Anyways, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. A little confession about my past. I used to have a problem with what's that? I think there's a technical term for it. Enuresis. That might not be it. I'm probably saying it wrong. I'm trying to pull that one out of the back of my head. Well, bedwetting. I don't know how old I was. 6, 8 years old. It probably went on for far too long. And it plagued me for a while. It's one of those things. I mean, how can you really control it? No one wants to wet their bed, but you're asleep and you just wake up and the bed is wet, warm, and sticky, and it's awful, and you just call out forlornly to Mom, Mom. That's how it would be in the middle of the night, and she would come, and I'm sure it wasn't great for her either. Eventually, she started to put like a big plastic trash bag under my sheet, between my sheet and the mattress, so that it, it wouldn't get the mattress as wet, and these were like my crinkles of shame, because I am one of those people that I have to wiggle around and shift and move in the bed for a bit before I get comfortable. And there were just that crinkling of the plastic under my sheet just always reminded me, as I tried to get comfortable, that I was a bedwetter and it could happen tonight. And I mean, eventually it stopped. But even I got reminded of this because last night, right as I was falling asleep, I was just, it was great. I was falling asleep right, like almost immediately as I lay down. It was like one of those things, lie down, get comfortable, and drift off. And I was starting to have my first dream. But then in my dream, I was peeing. And I had like a moment of panic because I almost can't, this almost happens every time I pee in my dreams. I wake myself up immediately because I fear that I'm actually peeing in real life too, because it feels so real in my dreams. It feels so real, and the relief is there, and I am just so afraid that I'm actually peeing my bed. I mean, it hasn't happened, in 20 years at least, maybe 23 years. I don't know how old I was when it stopped, but it's just crazy how it still haunts me today, even though it hasn't happened in so long. Anyways, I woke up from my dream in a cold sweat, thankfully not a warm puddle, and nothing had happened. I didn't even really have to pee. And I still remember sometimes I have a cousin, and sometimes we would, be over at my grandparents' house or something, and we'd all be sleeping there, and eventually got to the point where my mom wouldn't let me drink any water within like an hour or two before going to bed. And maybe that also impacts me still today, because now I love drinking water right before bed. In fact, I keep a water bottle in my bed with me. I have like a queen size mattress, and instead of having like a bedside table, I just kind of keep a couple things on the edge of my bed. I kind of sleep in the middle, and then I keep like my water bottle, and I have a book I'm reading, and then I have my phone right there, just all up in the corner on the side of my bed. And thankfully it hasn't leaked or dribbled anywhere, but get my water bottle right there, and I really can't go to sleep unless the last thing I do before drifting off is taking a few big gulps of water. And then when I wake up in the morning, I drink the rest of it. And I think that helps me. I think that also has helped cut down on the headaches, is just being well hydrated from the beginning of the day, just chugging down a bunch of water. Anyways, my mom wouldn't let me drink any water before going to bed when I was little because of this bedwetting problem. And it was probably smart. But then my cousin had the opposite problem, where he would wake up in the middle of the night complaining about being thirsty. So his mom, my aunt, would force him to drink water. And he didn't want to at that point because he wasn't thirsty. I wanted to drink, but wasn't allowed to, and he didn't want to drink, but was forced to. And so I was just sitting there, super parched, watching him being forced to chug down the water. It looked so good, and he wasn't even appreciating it, He just wanted to go to bed, but no, he had to drink a whole glass of water first. Anyways, it's just funny how different people have different problems, and it's always greener on the other side, so on and so forth. Anyways, I don't know what the point of that story was, but there you go. You can have it. The pen worked pretty good. The felt tip. Oops, sorry for popping the mic. I'm touching the mic right now. The felt tip worked pretty good, even though the paper in this sketchbook I'm using isn't what I would call felt tip friendly. By that I mean it's kind of pulpy paper, not very smooth, like it's very absorbent. It's the kind of paper that is more likely to like suck a bunch of ink out of the felt tip and help it dry out faster than like paper intended for a pen and paper intended for ink or markers, right? Doesn't work as well maybe as Bristol or like the Rhodia paper or the Tomoe River paper. Basically, also thank you to all the people that told me how to pronounce Tomoe. I think that's how you say it. Tomoe, right? I was going to say, oh yeah, I think a lot of my artistic journey started out with felt tip pens, that is with the Micron pens. So it felt interesting to come back to it, right? And the Micron pens, those are very basic pen bodies too. In fact, they're disposable. So here I am using another felt tip, but with like the opposite of a disposable body. This is like a pen body that's supposed to, could last forever. Probably outlive me by a million years. Anyways, I'm going to go now. I'm going to take a hot shower, stand there for a while, and put some Tiger Balm on my temples. Rawr. Hope y'all are doing okay. Thanks for watching. I just want to say I do get a lot of really, really nice, positive, encouraging messages on like Instagram, just like Instagram private messages, stuff like that. And I feel really bad that I don't have like the emotional energy to reply to them all. Maybe I should just go through and say thank you for the kind words to all of them and everything, but these are some really like written out and in-depth messages, and I just want to thank all of you for all the kind and encouraging things that you've said. I think I read all of them. I don't know. There's a lot, okay? And it really does make a difference. I mean, I'm tearing up a little bit thinking about all the support. So I don't know, I just want to say thank you. All right. You're all wonderful and I appreciate it. All right. So y'all take care. All right. Goodbye.